Well, it's day 2 of the NAN conference in New York City. A lot of talk about the black vote and how pivotal it is in this year's election, particularly in this Democratic primary. So far, Hillary Clinton is doing well nationally and doing well at the conference. Bernie failing to resonate for whatever reason. Well, our Dominic Carter is live at the Sheraton Times Square with more on that. And I guess, Dom, the main question, I know you asked it today, is even though they both appeared, Bernie Sanders today, Hillary yesterday, she still is getting more love than him, and I'm really curious from the attendees as to why.
Well, excellent question, Richard. And what we can tell you, Sanders' speech, it was like a rock star when he arrived here earlier today. His speech went over very well. But that brings us back to your question, or at least what you're alluding to. Does that translate into support, in particular in the black community? And what's going to happen on Tuesday? A strong reaction from this audience the moment he walked on stage. Bernie Sanders is running to the left of Hillary Clinton and has sought to strengthen his ties with African-American voters. He went after her.
If you believe that those issues can be addressed by establishment politics and establishment economics, you've got a very good candidate to vote for, but it's not Bernie Sanders.
Sanders has dominated Clinton with independents, young people, and first-time voters. But part of his challenge, African Americans constitute a voting bloc in which Sanders has consistently underperformed. Michael Eric Dyson is a media personality and professor at Georgetown.
Well, it's not so much, in my estimation, against Bernie, it's for Hillary.
Right.
Hillary's historic legacy of working with African American people from her first job in graduate school as a lawyer, during the summer as an intern working with the Children's Defense Fund with Marion Wright Edelman, to her working alongside her husband in the best positions available in public policy for African American people. We know it's a mixed record, some would say, and complicated, but the reality is Hillary Clinton from the very beginning has been deeply entrenched in African American cultural practices, organizations, and the like. And so she's not unfamiliar to them.
We also spoke with the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Explain this premise. Why is the African American community so in lock with the Hillary Clinton campaign?
Relationships. Bernie, both these are very decent people in my judgment. I support both. We're focused on reconciliation so they don't fight each other in such a way during this season they can't reconcile. That's a big deal. We lost when Humphrey lost to Nixon. The party couldn't come together. When Kennedy and Carter, the party couldn't come together. So the Hillary Bernie fight must not get out of control. That's one of my concerns. Second concern is that Hillary has more relationships. I remember I first met her, she was in the Delta of Arkansas and Mississippi handling free legal clinics. Then Children's Defense Fund. Then she worked on health care. Then she worked with the Congressional Black Caucus. A lot of relationships. Bernie, on the other hand, endorsed my campaign in 84 and 88. That was a big deal for our campaign. We whitened the face of the rainbow. So both have done good things, but I think Hillary's strength probably is in more relationships. A lot more what one might call retail politics.
Explain to me, Reverend Jackson, you've known him a very long time, this Donald Trump phenomenon. Does it surprise you? Are you shocked? Are you upset? Are you annoyed?
Well, I'm not into that. I'm certainly an observant of the dangers of some dimensions of it. For example, the issue of the Mexicans, they are our neighbors. They are the first line of defense for America is Mexico. We share 2,000 miles of border with Mexico. We cannot turn them into enemies. They are our strongest allies in so many ways. And then number 3, trading partner. This week, Nabisco has taken 600 jobs to Mexico. They make Oreos cookies and Ahoy chips, and they make graham crackers, saltine crackers. The Mexicans are not taking jobs from us. American greed is taking jobs to them. So let's not use this. So we must end the greed by the CEO who got a $29 million bonus, not blame the Mexicans. And so we must have some sense of being good neighbors in our hemisphere.
the Reverend Jesse Jackson talking to us one-on-one, Richard. Tonight, folks are starting to arrive in black tie with their gowns on. Mr. Sharpton is holding his dinner. One of the folks that he is honoring, among the folks he's honoring, happened to be Robert F. Kennedy, who'll be here tonight, who does a lot of environmental work. Gloria Steinem, feminist activists, the folks that will be on stage tonight with Mr. Sharpton, some Hollywood entertainers. And also, we have just been told that Governor Cuomo is en route, and he will be here about 7 o'clock tonight. That is it for now from the Sheraton. I'm Dominic Carter. Richard, let's go back to you.
I know the governor will make time for his Dominic, his boo. Let me ask you, though, Dom, you got a little preview of where Sharpton was going to go. I'm sorry, Sharpton, where Bernie Sanders was going to go tonight. You think he throws a kitchen sink at Hillary? You think it gets pretty feisty in Brooklyn, or do you think they make their points without throwing punches?
I think I agree with the premise of your question. Based on what we heard here in this room, just a few feet from here, it's going to get very feisty. As you reported from early on in the show, this is probably it's do or die towards the end, and this is probably the last time that Mr. Sanders will potentially have a debate with Hillary Clinton as she appears to be headed for the nomination. So you throw everything and the kitchen sink and you hope for the best. That is why, again, agreeing with your premise, Richard, that is why the state of New York, in a little more than 4 days now, 5 days, the state of New York is going to be so important for Bernie Sanders, Richard.
I only got 10 seconds, Dom. Right after the event and the debate tonight, Bernie Sanders is going out to the Vatican. He's got an audience with the Pope. They're going to talk about income inequality. Given that he's got to do well in New York, and you were advising him, would you tell him go or stay in New York and campaign?
Absolutely not. It's a concession to go to the Vatican that you're conceding that you're not going to win. I would say don't do it.
Interesting. All right, Dom, my friend, thank you very much. Dominic, of course, is going to continue to cover the event here as we go forward. Coming up next, though, we pivot from politics to our legal issues. Our panel of attorneys join us to talk about some of the hot cases of the day, and there were some, including more twists and turns for Peter Liang, the former NYPD officer who shot and killed Kai Gurley in a Brooklyn housing project stairwell. Then more trouble in Ramapo. This time, not the schools, it's the supervisor who just got arrested. And look out, Spreet Bahara, he's prosecuting the case.